The sensors across Unity Station began screaming at exactly 1447 Galactic Standard Time. Counselor Quiche felt his 3 hearts skip in unison as the display showed what every species in the galaxy had been waiting for. An unknown faster-than-light signature approaching the neutral zone. Is it confirmed? High Counselor Mirana asked, her crystalline form shimmering with excitement. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 47 different species leaned forward in their seats. Translation devices humming with anticipation. Confirmed, the sensor operator replied, his voice trembling. Unknown FTL pattern. Origin point. Sector 447, the system the locals call Sol. They have achieved the threshold. A wave of celebration swept through the council. 3,000 years of peaceful cooperation had proven their philosophy correct once again. Another species had reached for the stars through unity and wisdom. Another civilization would join their great family. Prepare the harmonious dawn, Mirana commanded. Alert the first contact team. Today we welcome our new friends to the galaxy. The harmonious dawn was a masterpiece of engineering and art. Its curved hull resembled a flower opening to the sun, colored in soft golds and whites that every known species found calming. Inside, empaths from 6 different races prepared gifts and greetings. Linguists checked their translation matrices one final time. Cultural ambassadors reviewed their protocols, each gesture and word carefully chosen to create the perfect first impression. Captain Velcor of the Harmonious Dawn felt honored beyond measure. In his long life, he had witnessed 2 first contacts. Both had been beautiful moments of connection. Today would be his 3rd and his last before retirement. A perfect ending to a perfect career. Take us to them, he ordered gently. Let us greet Earth's children with open hearts. The Harmonious Dawn entered the neutral zone, accompanied by an escort of 12 ceremonial ships, their hulls decorated with welcome banners in 47 languages. They moved slowly, broadcasting friendship on all frequencies, giving the newcomers time to adjust to the overwhelming reality of galactic civilization. Captain, we are detecting the Terran vessel, the sensor officer reported. Then he paused. His face went pale. Sir, you should see this. The main display activated and the bridge fell silent. The ship that appeared before them was not a tentative exploration vessel. It was not a small scout ship taking its first nervous steps into the unknown. What hung in space before the Harmonious Dawn was a monster of war. 2 kilometers of armored hull stretched before them, colored in aggressive grays and blacks. Massive turrets dotted its surface like the spines of some deep-sea predator. Launch tubes for projectile weapons covered every angle. Energy signatures indicated power systems running at combat readiness. And at the front, a weapon unlike anything in the Council database charged with barely contained fury. By the ancestors, Captain Velcor whispered. What have they built? Aboard the TDFS Indomitable, Captain Maria Zhao was having a very different day than she had expected. The shakedown cruise was supposed to be boring. Test the new antimatter lance, run some drills, check the FTL systems, and head home. Instead, her sensors had detected 13 unknown ships approaching in formation. Battle stations, she ordered calmly. Around her, the bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. This was what they trained for. Charge the lance to 50%. Launch bay, prep fighters, but hold them in the tubes. Comms broadcast on all frequencies. Unknown vessels, this is the Terran Defense Force ship Indomitable. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions. The weapons officer looked nervous. Ma'am, should we really charge the lance? That might seem aggressive. Lieutenant, we're 20 light years from Earth facing 13 unknown alien vessels, Zhao replied. Standard first contact protocol. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. They'll understand defensive posture. Anyone who has made it to the stars knows to be cautious. She was wrong. On the Harmonious Dawn, panic had replaced celebration. The Terran ship's weapons were active. All of them. The massive frontal weapon was building an energy signature that could crack a moon. Fighter launch tubes were open. Point defense systems tracked their every movement. They are preparing to fire. Someone screamed. No, wait, Captain Velcor said, forcing calm into his voice. Look at their broadcast. They are asking us to identify ourselves. This is first contact procedure. Activate the translation matrix. Let us speak with them. The translation matrix was a marvel of technology, capable of decoding any language through mathematical patterns and contextual analysis. It took 3 minutes to decode English. 3 minutes where both fleets hung in space, neither moving, both terrified of the other. When the translation completed, Captain Velcor spoke carefully. "Greetings, Terran vessel. I am Captain Velcor of the Harmonious Dawn. We come in peace to welcome Earth to the galactic community. Please power down your weapons. There is no danger here." Captain Zhao felt a wave of relief wash over her. First contact, and they spoke of peace. Humanity's greatest moment had arrived. "With respect, Captain Velcor, we will lower our alert status when we understand the situation better. We mean no offense, but we have just discovered we are not alone in the universe. I hope you understand our caution." On the Harmonious Dawn, the bridge crew exchanged confused looks. Caution was normal. But this level of armament? For a first venture into space? "Captain Zhao," Velcor said slowly, "may I ask what is the purpose of your vessel? Is it a military escort for your diplomatic ship?" There was a pause. "Sir, the Indomitable is a Dreadnought-class warship. We are on a training exercise. Is there a problem?" The word warship hit the Council fleet like a physical blow. Their first FTL ship was a weapon so powerful it made their ceremonial escorts look like toys. A weapon that suggested Earth had built an entire military fleet before even leaving their home system. Captain Velcor felt his world shift. In 3,000 years of peace in 47 civilizations spanning the galaxy, nothing had prepared the Council for this moment. Humanity's first hello to the universe had been spoken through the barrel of a gun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The emergency session of the Galactic Council began exactly 6 hours after first contact. Representatives gathered in the Grand Chamber on Unity Station, but the usual calm was absent. Voices rose in panic. Translation devices struggled to keep up with the overlapping conversations. High Counselor Mir-Ana struck the harmony chime 3 times before order returned. Her crystalline body had lost its usual shimmer, now appearing dull and gray with stress. She looked across the assembled representatives and saw fear in every face. "We must discuss the Terran situation," she began. "Intelligence analysis, please present your findings." The holographic display activated, showing the Indomitable rotating slowly in 3 dimensions. Red highlights marked each weapon system. There were hundreds of them. "The vessel is 2 kilometers in length," the analyst reported, his voice shaking slightly. "It carries enough kinetic and explosive weapons to destroy a small moon. The frontal weapon appears to be an antimatter-based energy lance. According to their own specifications, which they freely shared, this ship can engage targets at ranges exceeding 3 light seconds. It has armor thick enough to withstand direct strikes from weapons we have not used in centuries." "One ship," Counselor Thexal said quietly. The insectoid representative clicked his mandibles in distress. "How many more do they have?" The analyst paused. "According to Captain Zhao, the Indomitable is one of 37 Dreadnought-class vessels in the Terran Defense Force. They also have carriers, destroyers, cruisers, and support ships. Total fleet strength is estimated at over 200 vessels, all armed, all designed for combat." The chamber erupted. Ambassador Quiche of the Naltorian stood on shaking legs, his normally blue skin turning pale white. His species had never known war. The concept of a ship built only to destroy was beyond his understanding. "This cannot be," he said. "Species only achieve faster-than-light travel after transcending violence. This is the universal law. Every civilization in this chamber reached the stars through cooperation, through peace. How can they break the pattern? Perhaps we should ask them," Counselor Vexith suggested. The 4-armed Krathek leaned back in his seat, his warrior's instincts making him calmer than most. "We have invited their diplomatic team to Unity Station. Let them explain their history." The human delegation arrived 3 days later. They came aboard a small shuttle, unarmed and eager. Dr. Sarah Chen led the team along with historians, artists, and cultural ambassadors. They thought they were coming to celebrate. They did not understand the fear they had created. The cultural exchange took place in the Garden of Unity, a beautiful space filled with plants from all member worlds. Dr. Chen stood before a gathering of council representatives and began her presentation with a smile. "We are honored to join the galactic community," she said. "Let me share some of Earth's history so you can understand who we are." She began with images of early human civilization, agriculture, cities, art, and music. The council representatives relaxed slightly. This was familiar. This was how civilizations developed. Then the images changed. Armies marching, cities burning. The great wars of Earth's history played across the screen. World War I, World War II. The Cold War, where humanity came within minutes of nuclear extinction. Conflicts in every century on every continent. Ambassador Quiche fainted. His assistants rushed to help him while Dr. Chen stood frozen, not understanding what had happened. "Did you say," Counselor Thexall asked carefully, "that your world wars killed millions of your own species?" "Yes," Dr. Chen replied, confused by the horror in his voice. "But we learned from those mistakes. We have not had a global conflict in over 2 centuries. We have grown past those dark times." "Grown past?" Mirana's voice was barely a whisper. "You believe violence can be grown past like a childhood illness?" "Of course," Dr. Chen said. "Do your species not have histories of conflict?" The silence that followed was answer enough. Dr. Chen looked around the room and finally understood. These species had never known war. Not on the scale humans did. Not at all. A Velkari historian spoke next, her crystalline voice gentle but firm. "Dr. Chen, my species has records going back 50,000 years. In all that time, we have had disagreements, debates, political struggles, but never war. Never organized violence. The concept of training our young to kill is alien to us. Every species here is the same. We assumed this was universal." Dr. Chen sat down slowly. "You thought we would be like you, peaceful." "We thought all spacefaring species were peaceful," Mirana replied. "It is the foundation of our understanding of the universe. Intelligent species choose cooperation, always. Until you. The next few days were chaos." Council xenobiologists examined human biology and made a discovery that explained everything and made it worse. Humans were apex predators, forward-facing eyes designed for tracking prey, bodies built for endurance hunting, brains wired for tactical thinking and group coordination in combat, adrenaline systems that made them faster and stronger when threatened. Every other species in the council had evolved as prey animals or peaceful herbivores. They had survived through cooperation, camouflage, or flight. The concept of hunting was foreign to them. The idea of a predator achieving sentience was supposed to be impossible. "They are born hunters," the xenobiologist reported to the council. "Their entire physiology is designed for pursuit and capture. Even their recreational activities reflect this. They compete. They fight for sport. They tell their children stories about predators and survival." Someone leaked the report to the civilian networks. Within hours, protests erupted on 12 worlds. Humans were called monsters. Predators who would consume the peaceful species of the galaxy. The footage of the Indomitable played on every news feed, now narrated with fear instead of wonder. On Earth, humanity watched the galactic reaction with growing alarm. They had come in peace. They had shared everything openly, and now they were being treated like villains in their own first contact story. The Terran Defense Force went to high alert. Not because they wanted war, because they were surrounded by species who feared them, and fear made people dangerous. The Valiant and Thermopylae joined the Indomitable at the neutral zone. 3 dreadnoughts positioned defensively, sending a clear message. "We hope for peace, but we will defend ourselves." The council saw it as confirmation of their fears. The humans were mobilizing. Counselor Vexith watched all of this from his chambers and felt a cold certainty settle over him. His own species had a warrior tradition, though nothing like humanity's. He understood what the others did not. Fear and strength were a dangerous combination. If the council did not act carefully, they would create the very war they feared. He sent a coded message to Captain Zhao. Just 3 words. "Talk to me." They met in secret, away from cameras and recordings. Captain Zhao arrived expecting a trap. Vexith arrived expecting to meet a monster. Instead, they found 2 soldiers who understood duty. "Your council is considering a preemptive strike," Vexith said bluntly. "Some believe Earth must be contained before humanity spreads across the galaxy. You have weeks, perhaps days." Captain Zhao felt cold fury wash through her. "We came in peace." "You came in a warship," Vexith replied. "From their perspective, you threatened them before saying hello. From our perspective, we were being cautious meeting unknown aliens," Zhao shot back. "What were we supposed to do? Arrive unarmed and hope for the best?" Vexith laughed, a harsh sound. "Yes, that is exactly what we expected. Because that is what every species does. You cannot imagine how deeply you have shaken their worldview. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Zhao asked, "What do we do?" "I do not know," Vexith admitted. "But I know war between our peoples would be catastrophic. Find a way to prove you are not the monsters they fear, before fear turns to action." Captain Zhao returned to the Indomitable carrying the weight of Earth's future. Somewhere in the galaxy a solution existed. She just had to find it before fear and misunderstanding destroyed humanity's chance at the stars. Earth's governments decided to try again. If the military approach had failed, perhaps culture would succeed. They assembled a new delegation: teachers, artists, musicians, and families. Real humans living real lives. People who could show the galaxy that humanity was more than warships and weapons. The delegation arrived at Unity Station with gifts: human art, music recordings, literature, and cultural artifacts from every continent. They set up exhibits in the Cultural Exchange Center, eager to share the beauty of human civilization. It went wrong almost immediately. A human teacher offered to share children's stories with Naltorian educators. She chose classics, tales that every Earth child knew: Little Red Riding Hood, The Three Little Pigs, Hansel and Gretel. She read them with warmth and expression, the way she read to her students back home. The Naltorian educators listened in growing horror. A wolf eating a grandmother? Pigs building defenses against a predator? Children abandoned in the forest to starve? By the time the teacher finished, 3 of the educators had left the room. The one who remained looked at her with something close to fear. "You teach these stories to children?" he asked. "Stories about death and predation and survival?" "They are fairy tales," the teacher replied, confused. "They teach lessons about being careful and working hard and staying safe." "They teach fear," the educator said quietly. "They teach that the world is dangerous and full of threats. Our children's stories are about cooperation and friendship, about communities working together, about peace." The teacher tried to explain. Context, metaphor, cultural tradition, but the damage was done. Within hours, news feeds across the galaxy reported that humans conditioned their young for violence from birth through propaganda disguised as entertainment. The sports demonstration went worse. Humanity wanted to show their competitive spirit, their drive for excellence. They broadcast recordings of the Olympics, of football and basketball games, of athletic achievement at its finest. The council species watched in fascination until someone switched to combat sports: boxing, mixed martial arts, wrestling, humans striking each other repeatedly while crowds cheered. Blood and sweat and the raw physicality of 2 people trying to overpower each other. The broadcast was shut down within minutes, but it was too late. The images spread across every network. Aliens watched in shock as humans fought each other for sport, for entertainment, for glory. Several species filed formal protests. 3 worlds banned human cultural materials entirely. "They practice violence as recreation," one news commentator said, his voice shaking. "They train their bodies to hurt each other and call it sport." What kind of species does this? On Unity Station, Dr. Chen worked frantically in the xenobiology lab, trying to find a way to bridge the understanding gap. Her research had revealed the fundamental difference between humans and council species, but she needed to present it in a way they could accept. "We are predators," she explained to a small group of council scientists. "Our evolution shaped us differently. But being a predator does not make us evil. It makes us different. We developed intelligence through hunting, through strategy, through cooperation in pursuit of prey. Your species developed intelligence through cooperation for survival, through building communities for protection, different paths to the same destination." A Velkari scientist considered this. "But you still have predatory instincts, the drive to hunt, to fight, to dominate. How do we trust that you will not turn those instincts on us?" "Because we choose not to," Dr. Chen said simply. "That is what civilization means to us. We have the capacity for violence, but we choose peace. We could be monsters, but we choose to be better. Is that not more meaningful than never having the choice at all?" The scientist was quiet for a long moment. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you are simply predators waiting for an opportunity." The cultural exchange continued to fail in small ways. A human offered a handshake to a council delegate. The Velkari representative, whose species communicated through gentle touches of their crystalline surfaces, felt the firm grip as aggressive. The human was confused when the delegate pulled away in alarm. Human laughter, loud and unrestrained, startled species who communicated in soft tones. Human eye contact meant as honesty and openness was interpreted as predatory staring. Human personal space, smaller than most species, made others uncomfortable. Every interaction became a minefield of misunderstanding. Meanwhile, the military situation deteriorated. More human ships arrived at the neutral zone. Not as a threat, Earth insisted. As protection. The Indomitable was now accompanied by 8 other vessels, including a carrier with fighter squadrons. The Council saw a battle group forming at their borders. Emergency meetings became daily occurrences. The isolationist faction grew stronger. Councillor Thexal led the arguments for quarantine with passionate speeches about protecting Council civilization from contamination by human violence. They cannot help what they are, Thexal said, but we can help ourselves. We can seal Sol system, prevent their expansion, and preserve the peace we have maintained for 3,000 years. It is not cruelty. It is survival. It is imprisonment, Vexith countered, and it will guarantee war. You do not cage a predator and expect it to remain peaceful. You will create the very threat you fear. Then what do you suggest? Mirana asked, her exhaustion showing. How do we integrate a species built for war into a society built for peace? Before Vexith could answer, alarms began screaming throughout Unity Station. Every display activated simultaneously, showing the same terrifying image. Long-range sensors had detected something at the galactic rim. Something massive. Something moving toward Council space. The Devourers had returned. The briefing room filled rapidly as Council military commanders arrived. The few who still existed. Most Council species maintained only token defense forces, ceremonial ships that had not seen real combat in centuries. Why would they need more? The galaxy was at peace. The sensor analysis appeared on the main display. A fleet of machine intelligence vessels, each one larger than the Indomitable, moving in perfect formation. 300 ships, maybe more. They had appeared from deep space, from the void between galaxies where nothing should exist. The Devourers, Admiral Keshatar said quietly. The elderly commander had fought them once 800 years ago. He was one of the few still alive who remembered. They have returned, and they have grown stronger. How long until they reach the first colony worlds? Mirana asked. 4 weeks, Keshatar replied. Maybe 5. The outer colonies will be evacuated, but we cannot save everyone. We do not have enough ships, and what about the defense fleet? Keshtar's laugh was bitter. We have 47 ceremonial vessels and perhaps 200 patrol ships scattered across the entire Council territory. The Devourers will destroy them in hours. We are not prepared for this. We have not been prepared for this for 7 centuries. Someone asked the question everyone was thinking. What about the humans? The room fell silent. The species they had feared for weeks. The predators with their warships and their violent nature. The monsters they had considered quarantining or even destroying. Now they represented the only hope the Council had. Contact Captain Zhao, Mirana ordered. Tell her we need to speak urgently. Tell her. She paused, pride and desperation warring in her voice. Tell her we need help. On the Indomitable, Captain Zhao received the message and called an immediate staff meeting. She displayed the sensor data showing the Devourer fleet and watched her officers study it with professional interest. They are asking for our help, she said. The same council that has been debating whether to quarantine us or destroy us. They want us to fight their war. Do we have authorization from Earth? Her XO asked. Not yet. I am asking you first. What do you think we should do? The weapons officer spoke first. They treated us like criminals. Like monsters. Why should we help them? Because if they fall, we are next on the list, the tactical officer replied. Those machines will not stop at Council borders. They will keep coming until they reach Earth. And because it is the right thing to do, Zhao said quietly. We wanted to prove we are not monsters. Here is our chance. We show them what humanity really is. Not conquerors. Not predators, protectors, defenders. We fight not because we want to, but because someone must. She activated her communication array and sent a message to Admiral Kowalski on Earth. 3 hours later, the response came back. It was short. Show them what humans can do. The Terran Defense Force fleet emerged from FTL space at the besieged world of Pelmara like avenging angels. 37 dreadnoughts, 15 carriers, 60 destroyers, and support vessels. Over 200 ships total. It was humanity's entire military force, committed to defending a species that had called them monsters just weeks before. Captain Zhao stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and surveyed the tactical display. The situation was worse than the reports had indicated. The Devourers had already destroyed the outer defense stations. Pelmara's orbital platforms were in flames. Devourer ships, massive constructs of dark metal and hostile intelligence, formed a blockade around the planet. Below on the surface, 3 billion Council citizens waited to die. "All ships, this is Captain Zhao," she broadcast on the fleet channel. "We have one job: break that blockade and give the evacuation ships time to work. The Council fleet will handle rescue operations. We will handle the Devourers. Standard battle formation. Carriers to the rear. Dreadnoughts forward. Destroyers on the flanks. Remember your training. Remember why we are here. Make humanity proud." The response came from 200 ship captains in unison. "Aye, Captain." The Devourer fleet detected the human ships immediately. Their response was predictable. They had adapted over centuries to Council weapons. Energy shields that absorbed particle beams, armor that dispersed energy weapons across their massive hulls, point defense systems that intercepted slow-moving projectiles. They were perfect killing machines, optimized through countless battles. They had never fought humans before. The Indomitable fired first. The antimatter lance discharged with a scream of tortured physics, a beam of pure annihilation that crossed the distance between ships at light speed. The Devourer cruiser it hit simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next moment there was only expanding debris and radiation. The Devourer fleet began evasive maneuvers, but human weapons did not need to evade. Railguns fired projectiles at 30% light speed. At that velocity, shields were meaningless. Energy dispersal was meaningless. The kinetic impactors hit with the force of nuclear weapons, tearing through Devourer armor like paper. Nuclear-tipped missiles followed, thousands of them, launched from every human ship simultaneously. The Devourer's point defense systems tried to intercept them. They destroyed hundreds, but hundreds more got through, detonating in cascading waves of atomic fire that washed over the enemy fleet. "Target the command ship," Zhao ordered. "All dreadnoughts concentrate fire. 7 antimatter lances fired as one." The Devourer command ship, a behemoth 3 times the size of the Indomitable, tried to maneuver away. It was too slow. The concentrated fire struck it amidships, and for a moment the ship held together through sheer structural integrity. Then it split in half, both sections tumbling away into space. The Devourer fleet reacted with machine efficiency. They recalculated, adapted, changed tactics. They focused their fire on the human carriers, trying to eliminate the fighter squadrons before they could launch. Particle beams and plasma weapons converged on the carrier Valiant. "Valiant is taking heavy fire," the communications officer reported. "Shields at 30% and falling. All destroyers, defensive screen around the carriers," Zhao commanded. "Fighter squadrons, launch now. Target their weapons platforms." The fighter pilots of the Terran Defense Force were volunteers all, men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. They launched from their carriers in waves, small craft that could never survive a direct hit but were too fast and maneuverable for the Devourers to target effectively. Lieutenant, Commander Sarah Park led her squadron in a diving run toward a Devourer battleship. G-forces crushed her into her seat as she pulled maneuvers that would have killed most Council species. Human physiology, built for endurance and resilience, kept her conscious and fighting. "Gold Squadron, target the point defense clusters," she called out. "Make holes for the missiles." "Red Squadron, you are with me. We are going for the power core." Her fighter dodged through a maze of enemy fire, weapons tracking her but always a fraction too slow. She armed her torpedo, a nuclear device with a shaped charge designed to punch through armor. At 300 meters from the enemy hull, she fired. The torpedo struck perfectly, burning through layers of metal until it reached the reactor core. The battleship exploded from within, a brief star that illuminated the battlefield before fading to darkness. But the cost was high. Gold Squadron lost 3 fighters in their attack run. Red Squadron lost 2, including Sarah Park herself. Her fighter took a glancing hit from a particle beam. Her last transmission was calm, almost peaceful. "Target destroyed. Good luck, everyone." The battle raged for 6 hours. Human ships and Devourer machines tore at each other with devastating fury. The Valiant, her shields collapsed and armor breached, continued fighting even as sections of her hull vented atmosphere. Her captain, Commander James Liu, refused to abandon ship while his fighters were still out there. A Devourer dreadnought, recognizing the Valiant as wounded prey, moved in for the kill. Its massive plasma weapons charged, preparing to deliver a final blow. The Indomitable intercepted. Zhao brought her ship between the Devourer and the Valiant, taking the hit on her own shields. They held barely. "Valiant, get your people out," Zhao transmitted. "We will cover you." "Negative, Indomitable," Commander Liu replied. "Still have weapons online. Still have fight left. That is an order, Commander. With respect, Captain, you can give that order when I am dead. Until then, I have a ship to fight." The Valiant's remaining weapons fired one final barrage. Her railguns, her missiles, everything she had left. The Devourer staggered under the assault, its shields flickering. In that moment of weakness, the Indomitable's lance fired again and the enemy dreadnought died. But the Valiant had taken too much damage. Her reactor, pushed beyond all safety limits, began to fail. Commander Liu gave the evacuation order. 300 crew members made it to the escape pods. Liu and 47 others stayed behind to buy them time, keeping the reactor stable just a few more minutes while their shipmates fled. When the Valiant exploded, the shockwave destroyed 2 more Devourer ships. Commander Liu's last act saved hundreds of lives. On Unity Station, the Council watched the battle unfold through sensor feeds. They saw human ships fighting with the ferocity and skill they had never imagined possible. They saw human pilots flying maneuvers that should have been impossible. They saw human captains sacrificing themselves for their crews, for the mission, for strangers they had never met. Ambassador Quiche watched with tears streaming down his face. "We called them monsters," he whispered. "We feared them, and they are dying for us." The battle turned slowly in humanity's favor. The Devourers were powerful, but they were predictable. They followed logic, tactics refined through countless encounters with Council forces. Humans were chaos. They broke rules. They adapted mid-battle. They took risks that no sane computer would calculate. When the last Devourer ship finally retreated into FTL, limping away with a quarter of their fleet destroyed, the human fleet did not celebrate. They were too busy counting their dead. 30,000 humans had died at Pelmara. The Valiant was destroyed. 8 other ships were too damaged to repair, but the planet below still lived. 3 billion Council citizens had been saved. Captain Zhao sat in her command chair, exhausted beyond measure, and opened a channel to Unity Station. High Counselor Mirana appeared on the screen, her crystalline form dimmed with sorrow and something else. "Respect, Captain Zhao," she said softly. "We have no words adequate to thank you. Your people have paid a terrible price for our survival." "We paid the price so you would not have to," Zhao replied. "That is what protectors do. We take the hits so others do not have to. We fight so others can remain peaceful. We are not proud of our violent nature, Counselor. But today I hope you understand why we carry it with us to the stars." Mirana bowed, a gesture of profound respect in her culture. "We understand, Captain. Finally, we understand." The memorial service took place on Pelmara's surface, in a field that had been a battlefield just days before. Representatives from all 47 Council species stood alongside human Marines, officers, and crew members. Together they watched as 30,000 names were projected into the sky, each one a human who had died defending strangers. Captain Maria Zhao stood at attention as the names scrolled past. She had written letters to every family. She had read every service record. She knew them all. Lieutenant Sarah Park, fighter pilot who loved painting and had 3 younger sisters. Commander James Liu, who played piano and coached children's soccer during leave. Corporal David Martinez, Marine, who had been planning to propose to his girlfriend when he got home. They were not statistics. They were people, and they had died so that others might live. Ambassador Quiche approached slowly, his movements careful and respectful. He had recovered from his fainting spell weeks ago, but something in him had changed. The naive innocence was gone, replaced by hard-earned wisdom. "Captain Zhao," he said quietly, "I owe you an apology. I owe all of humanity an apology. We judged you without understanding. We feared you without knowing you. And when we needed help, you came anyway." Zhao looked at him, this gentle alien who represented everything humanity was not. Peaceful, innocent, untouched by war. You were not wrong to fear us, Ambassador. We are dangerous. We do carry violence in our nature, but you were wrong about what that means. I understand that now, Keish replied. You are dangerous to your enemies. You are dangerous to evil, but to those you protect, to those you call friends, you are the safest thing in the galaxy. We needed to learn the difference. The formal council session came 3 days later. The Grand Chamber was packed with representatives, but also with civilians who had come to witness history. High Counselor Mirana stood at the center, her crystalline form now glowing with renewed purpose. We gather today to address humanity's petition for council membership, she began. Weeks ago this body was divided. Some called for quarantine. Some called for isolation. Some even whispered of prevention. Today we are not divided. She gestured, and images from the Battle of Pelmara appeared on every display. Human ships fighting, human pilots dying, human marines pulling wounded aliens from wreckage, human medics sharing their supplies when council medical facilities were overwhelmed. Humanity brought their warships to the stars. Mirana continued. We called this a threat. We were wrong. They brought their warships because they knew the stars needed defending. We forgot this truth in our 3,000 years of peace. We forgot that peace is not the absence of violence. It is the presence of those willing to stand against violence. She turned to face the human delegation. Captain Zhao stood with her remaining officers, Dr. Chen and her scientists, and Ambassador Williams representing Earth's government. They looked tired. They looked wounded. They looked like heroes. Humanity, we offer you full membership in the Galactic Council, Mirana said, but we offer you more. We ask you to be our shield, our sword, our protectors, not because we want to use you, but because you are willing to be used in defense of others, because you understand the cost of peace and are willing to pay it. Ambassador Williams stepped forward. He had served in Earth's military before becoming a diplomat. He understood what was being asked. We accept membership, and we accept the responsibility, but we have conditions. The chamber stirred with surprise. Conditions? We will be your protectors, Williams said. But we will not be your executioners. We will defend. We will not conquer. We will teach you to defend yourselves, but we will not create armies for you. You must remain who you are. Peaceful species building peaceful civilizations. We will be the sharp edge between you and chaos. But you must remain the soft heart of the galaxy. Do you accept these terms? Mirana smiled, an expression learned from human teachers. We accept. Let it be recorded. On this day, humanity joins the Galactic Council, and the galaxy gains not just a member but a guardian. The response across council space was overwhelming. On 12 worlds, the same worlds that had protested human violence weeks before, memorials were erected to the fallen. Human names were carved in stone, metal, and crystal. Children who had been taught to fear humans now wore toy fleet badges and played games about brave human defenders. Dr. Chen watched the cultural shift with fascination. She gave a lecture at the University of Unity Station, speaking to students from 30 different species. We are predators, she told them honestly. This is our nature. We evolved to hunt, to fight, to compete. But evolution gave us nature. We created civilization to control it. That is humanity's gift to you. Not our weapons, not our ships, but our proof that dangerous natures can be guided toward noble purposes. A young Naltorian student raised a tentacle. Dr. Chen, are you saying we should become more like humans? More violent? No, Chen replied firmly. Never lose your peaceful natures. They are precious. They are what we fight to preserve. I am saying that the galaxy needs both. It needs species like yours who build and create and nurture. And it needs species like ours who stand guard while you do it. Together we are complete. Counselor Vexith met with Captain Zhao one final time before the human fleet departed for new assignments. They sat in a small garden sharing a drink that neither species should technically be able to metabolize but both enjoyed anyway. You were right to contact me, Zhao said. If we had not had that conversation, fear might have driven us to war. I was afraid too, Vexith admitted. My species has warriors, but nothing like yours. When I first saw the Indomitable, I thought we were looking at our doom. Now I think we were looking at our salvation. Strange how perspective changes. Strange how quickly enemies can become friends, Zhao agreed. A few weeks ago you were preparing to fight us. Now we fight together. That is the nature of warriors, Vexith said. We understand each other, even across species. The Council needed to learn what you and I already knew, that strength used in defense of others is not violence. It is virtue. The joint training program began immediately. Human officers were assigned to council vessels to teach tactical doctrine. Council scientists worked with human engineers to upgrade defensive systems. The new generation of council ships would be built with human advice, armed but not aggressive, capable but not cruel. The Indomitable received a new assignment. Flagship of the Joint Defense Fleet, a combined force of human and council ships. Her battle damage was repaired, her fallen crew members honored, and her mission expanded. She would patrol the borders of council space, ready to respond to any threat. Captain Zhao recorded a final log entry as her ship prepared to depart. First Contact Protocol states that a new species should send their most peaceful, most welcoming vessel. We sent a warship. The Council thought this was a mistake. But maybe it was exactly what the galaxy needed. Maybe the universe was trying to tell us something. That peace is precious. That civilization is fragile. That sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stand ready to fight so others never have to. She looked out at the stars, at the vast and beautiful and dangerous galaxy humanity had joined. We came to the stars carrying our weapons. We were afraid the galaxy would reject us for it. Instead, the galaxy realized it needed us. Not in spite of our nature, because of it. We are not the species the Council wanted to meet, but we are the species they needed. And maybe that is the most human thing of all, being what the universe needs, even when it does not know it yet. The Indomitable's engines engaged and the ship moved forward into the darkness. Around her, a fleet of council vessels followed, no longer afraid of the humans but grateful for them. Together they would patrol the borders of civilization. Together they would stand watch against the chaos. Humanity had reached the stars, and in doing so, they had not just found their place in the galaxy. They had found their purpose. They were the guardians, the protectors. The ones willing to face the darkness so others could enjoy the light. On Earth, in a small apartment in New York, Commander Liu's mother received her son's posthumous Medal of Honor. She held it carefully, reading the inscription, "For valor in defense of those who could not defend themselves. For sacrifice in service of peace. For proving that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons, but our willingness to stand between danger and innocence." She looked at her son's picture, smiling in his dress uniform, so young and proud and brave. "You did good, James," she whispered. "You showed them who we really are." Across the galaxy, 30,000 families received similar medals. 30,000 stories of sacrifice and courage. 30,000 reasons why humanity belonged among the stars. The Council had feared meeting predators from Earth. Instead, they found protectors. And in finding them, they discovered what true strength looked like. Not the power to destroy, but the courage to defend. Not the willingness to fight, but the wisdom to know when fighting was necessary. Humanity had come to the stars in warships, and through those warships they had brought not war but hope. The hope that peace could be defended, that civilizations could be protected, that somewhere in the darkness someone stood watch. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how it should be.